So really excited to welcome two individuals. We have our very own Hannah Castle, program manager here at Cultivator, joining you from about 15 feet away from myself. So excited to have Hannah moderating the fireside chat today. She brings a great experience both through working with a ton of companies at Cultivator, software background at IQ Metrics as well. And she is joined by 7Shift's very own Elise Taylor. We're welcoming Elise back. I think this is twice within almost 12 hours. Elise was one of our expert judges last night on our startup social pitch competition. She awarded a 10K prize to InfoCore, one of our pre-revenue companies. We got to learn a lot about Elise last night. Elise is also a spin instructor on the side, aside from her time at 7Shifts, leading out customer success. So she's got great energy. I think this is going to be an awesome fireside chat. I know that this is one of the most requested things that Cultivator and other Partner Hub founders want to know is how do we ace customer success and get those renewals, upgrades, and everything else. So with that, I'm going to disappear into the abyss and I will allow you two to take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Elise, I'm feeling a little bit nervous standing in front of this background. I'm really happy that I'm asking you the questions because I feel like last night you asked really hard questions and I'm like, oh, thank gosh, I'm not pitching. So I do want to hear a little bit more about you. I'll let you introduce yourself. But the one thing I want to ask you first is last night you threw out the term elder millennial. And I just have to know, is it because of Eliza Schelslinger? Have you watched the I knew you were kidding.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'll show you my notes from last night. Hillary says, Elise, elder millennial, must ask. So
all the same.
I was already excited about this. I feel like we have so much to talk about. There's a million things. So really quickly, give us like the 30-second elevator pitch on who Elise Taylor is and kind of how you got here today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the director of client success and support for 7Shifts, which is a Saskatoon-based company. Background, client success and sales, 9 years, I think now experience in the tech industry. I'm from Toronto, from Southwestern Ontario originally. As Hannah mentioned, I am a spin instructor, which was really fun last night with one of the pitches with a spin bike company too. I just have a super passion for customer success and was just absolutely thrilled to be asked to do this today.
Amazing. We are so excited to have you. I won't talk anymore about my girl crush. We can talk about it offline. So I just started my journey into startups about a year ago. And I'll tell you honestly, the two things I've heard the most in my last year working at Cultivator is 7Shifts knows two things better than anybody. They know the triggering moment for when a customer is ready to be approached about a sale. And more importantly, they know how to retain that customer long-term. And I think where that comes from is you have a pretty intense metric that you follow in terms of that customer retention. So maybe tell me a little bit about that metric and then how it set you up for success over the last, few years.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people are pretty surprised to learn that it's not really our churn rate that we track. As you just said, we have a really low churn rate. Industry, maybe even worldwide low. I'm so proud of it. I mean, we've created a really sticky product that just suits the industry, suits the restaurant industry, provides value. But our North Star metric going forward is always going to be, revenue per lead. So the annual spend of a customer and how we can have them continually find value within our offering. Everything we make is truly for them. We always measure, certainly how much potential a customer may have with us. We always try to really focus again on the value sets that are being offered as well. So it is very revenue driven, I would say. In terms of tracking, we do use a lot of really great tools as well. We do have a data team that likes to mine a lot of the data and really understand usage to be able to inform really good decisions as well, which is great. But going forward, we just know that, that North Star metric always should be, how much is the customer spending today and really, how can we get them to the state where they find enough value in order to spend more. So I would say, that's really kind of our 2021 North Star right now.
Amazing. So that kind of explains how structurally you have set up your metrics and this is how you do your reporting. So culturally, how do you continue to communicate that? And there's always ups and downs with revenue driven metrics because when they're not good, they're really not good. And that really, bleeds into the culture. And then when they're amazing, it like really pumps up the culture. So culturally, like, how are you managing the execution and communicating that metric and where it's at?
Yeah, great question. So all of our teams on the growth side, we actually roll into what's called growth. So we do have a success department, we have a sales department, we have a marketing department, but we are all growth. And I think it's really important to create a culture where everybody is going towards one solid goal. We do what are called rock planning. So every quarter we have team rocks, we have company rocks that we align back up to, and each team plans their own. But end of the day, the culture is just 100% focused on making sure that we hit this North Star. And so I'd say that's the one thing, is just aligning your teams really, really well, and making sure that, you've hired really good people. I don't know if folks on the call today might recognize this, but we're really big on what we call our beams. So be radically candid, embrace new challenges, act like an owner, make every experience 11, and solve with simplicity. And culturally, we like live and die by that. Every single person we hire, everyone that's on our teams, like right people, right seats, they follow that. And so being able to hit these metrics, it often just comes back to all of that as procedure and just aligning the teams along that as well.
Amazing. So I'm going to jump around from our notes because I feel like we got to jump into this right now. So you talk about these beams. They're obviously something that, the team at 7 Shifts has set up. I'm imagine it was like a gritty, everybody get in a room. We're going to decide on what these things are, and you're going to sweat it out until, these are the things we're going to come out with. So as a team and a culture that already exists, you follow these things, but how do you find the people to sit in those seats? Like, what are the competencies? What are the skills in order for them to be amazing customer success people on your team? What are those skills you look for?
Yeah, it's really funny that you mentioned grit. Grit is honestly one of the biggest things, like just joining the grind and being okay with it. I mean, COVID is a perfect example of this, right? Everything was just completely uprooted, and to have good people, right seats, is just so important. We also follow the entrepreneurial operating system, so EOS. And so just making sure that, again, we do have those right people in the right seats that do, I don't want to say abide, because honestly, it just becomes part of who we are, but by beams, it's hiring good people to do good work and then trusting them that they are going to be able to get the job done. And I think it's why we also have such a high retention of the folks that are within the company, why we very often promote from within, and even the way that we've set up our success team as a larger organization right now. Really, we kept all of that in mind. So people follow beams, they're part of this EOS system, and we don't ever put somebody through an interview process further if they don't fall within those 5 kind of beams that we live and die by.
I love that. And so, like, speaking on that, in terms of, you talked a little bit about how the team is structured, and I think even just your title alone really speaks to it. It's like customer, a director of customer success and support. And I almost feel like sales could be in there, because all of those teams need to work together. And that's what you said about, like, the growth. And I know lots of our companies are a little bit early stage, but these are, structural things that they should have set up maybe from the get-go or start to think about. So can you just walk me through the organizational structure of the team that you deal with, and maybe give me like a little bit of a why it was done this way versus like maybe some of the more traditional org structures that we see?
Yeah, so this has been trial and error. So I think one of the greatest things about working for a startup is being able to try things. And if they fail, you do something different. Like, it's totally acceptable. So we tried different structures. We had the client success team as account managers. We had them as like product specialists, client success specialists. And we ended up on client success managers. When I started, I really said this team needs to be revenue driven, but they need to be value revenue driven. So we don't sell things to people that they don't need. That is my personal philosophy, and I think it's so important. And so on a very like micro level, that's what our client success team does. They train, they onboard, their everything post sales. But what we recently actually decided to do was that instead of having support, technical specialists, our CSMs, and a training team, like, this really is a success department. So how do we align everybody so that we are creating, our team rocks, as we said, to align back up to company? How do we better arrange the team so that they can facilitate better conversation and give feedback to different teams as well? And also, like, how do we just create an environment where everyone's happy to be able to work together, and we're not creating these great divides between the goals and, all that good stuff too. So like I said, recently we really decided to create the success department, technical specialists, support, CSM, and our future training. I would say we have one person right now in that capacity. And they are all like our post-sale team, making sure that that our customers do get that, make every experience 11, the M of our beams, and really just providing awesome service ongoing. It's all one goal. Like that is the ultimate. So it's not easy, I don't think, at a company that's quite small. It's a little bit easier to put that model in place once you scale. But the other really important thing that I want to note here is that if you hire good people and they're doing good work and they're your A players and they have the competencies and the ability to grow into a management position, it's a really great way to be able to give them opportunity, because you know that they're going to kill it. And then I can kind of step away and feel so great that, we have the right people in the right seats that are going to be able to level up their teams as well. So it's also a growth strategy in terms of career planning as well.
I love that. I think startups move so fast. And it was funny, they talked about this in the product panel earlier, like all of these titles are made up and fake. And I've experienced that in my own career too. So it's quite funny. So I feel like obviously post-sale, you guys are crushing it. The sales team is involved. Everything is good. I want to know, like, how does the product team fit in there and ensuring that like you're bringing them along the customer journey? And I know even in my career, I've struggled with that. Like, do you let the product managers and the technical team talk to the customers, or do you have an in-between person? And I think so much communication can get lost between like what a customer is really asking for, and maybe that's a feature or a problem or a bug. So how do you involve the development teams in that conversation? And then how do you then help them prioritize when probably all they're getting is like a ton of noise from everybody asking about features that they have no idea about because they're not technical people?
Totally. I think this is such a popular, I'll call it a struggle, but I think a popular struggle. And it's certainly something that's like an ever working work in progress. Again, I think it comes down to people who are okay to not just stay in their lane. And I truly believe that our product team, our sales team, our marketing team, any team within this entire organization will step out of their comfort zone to help each other. And whether that means it's somebody from product that's jumping on a call with a client because they are a churn risk and they have questions, or whether it be, just the other day, our product marketing team stepping in with the CSMs and saying, hey, like, we don't think we've spent enough time with you guys to prioritize the roadmap. Give us your feedback. And the manager of that team stepping away and going, oh my God, what a different perspective. So just things like that we're learning really make a difference. On a very micro level, we use product board. I mean, I truly believe that client success, one of our biggest, value adds to an organization is being the voice of the customer. We hear all their feedback, their pain points. And so we are really vigilant in making sure that we log all the feedback. Any type of like NPS scoring or anything that comes through actually isn't usually a responsibility on the success side. It's often a responsibility on the product side to reach out and have conversations with those clients, which I love. I know you and I were chatting before just about NPS and how I feel like it's misused in a lot of organizations.
You brought it up. I was like, oh, no, to ask about this.
No, it's totally fine, because I think it plays in really well. I mean, it's a responsibility of the entire organization, not just the CS to be, looking at that as a metric. So all of our teams work so well together. We've also set up a really good structure so that we do have product marketing that will really market out the value adds and help us with campaigns, help us with growth opportunity. We have our product team that will easily step in at any point to help us with the roadmap or move things around and prioritize. And everyone listens to each other. They like each other. And I think that makes a difference.
I feel like this is like a dream world I would like to visit.
It's pretty good. It's not without its faults. I mean, no company is, but we've worked hard for it.
I love that. So you mentioned this a little bit, and I don't think I prepped you for this question, so I apologize, but we get asked as an incubator so much, like, what tool should I be using? How should I be tracking this? Can you tell me a little bit about like the software that empowers 7Shift's employees? Because I think those are things that you can implement when you have 5 people that can really like scale up with your organization. And I know there's a million, like, is it Salesforce? Is it, we use Asana? Is it whatever? And when you introduce so many tools, so much gets lost. So can you talk me through like the tool structure or the software structure you have as well?
Yeah, it definitely can. I'll be radically candid about what's working and what's not as well, and in hopes that it's helpful. So we use Salesforce. We do. I think we could use it better, and we're working to use it better. We use it on a pretty simple basis right now, just like tracking some lead flow, close won opportunities on the sales and CS side. We do use Churn Zero for, again, and not really our churn reporting, but more like ownership for accounts. To be honest, we've failed pretty miserably at that tool and implementing. Our product has really been set up in a way that it is king or queen of all of the data, and just trying to tie those systems has been a bit difficult. Tools that work really well for us, Guru, which is a way that you can actually basically document all of your processes. I think this is probably one of the biggest takeaways as you scale, is just like where do you put this stuff as you make changes, and where can all of your different teammates easily educate themselves without having to be frustrated or trying to find the information like Google Drive. We use Intercom and Zendesk for all of our actually some of our sales flow as well, some conversations with prospects, as well as all of our ticketing. Trying to think what else. Oh gosh, I'm sure I'm missing so many tools. I mean, we use like soft phones, all that good stuff. And Slack. I mean, we live and breathe by Slack, and I think we use it a lot of integrations that really help us a lot, such as like a product board integration that we can easily just track feedback if a customer submits an NPS score or anything like that. So yeah, we've tried to put tools in place that are going to help our workflows and create a better experience for our clients, but it's an ever work in progress, and the process does break down. So I'm honestly thinking every like 3 to 6 months we're going to need to revisit our tools.
That is a huge job, especially when it requires a lot of training. And especially for you to say, like, we implemented this tool poorly. Like, I feel like that is a story of 90% of every company, regardless of tech's life, is like, if you don't have basically a project team that's doing this implementation, and you lose those SMEs so fast, especially when you're growing, like, you have the SME that's like, oh, I'm the Salesforce person. And then in 2 seconds, they like work on another team, and you're like, nobody has any idea what's happening. So no, I'm happy, happy to see you've experienced this in a very nice way. So I'm like super off book here, but I have to address the buzzword account manager, because I love that you said you changed the title multiple times, but my true question is like, how many customers is too much for one person to manage? And how do you decide what customers belong to which sales rep? Because I think sometimes like the size of the customer isn't true to like the difficulty of the customer. So like, how have you mapped out like which, I guess, human beings are like the face for those, those users?
Yeah, so my quick answer that I'll elaborate on is the limit doesn't exist. Little mean girls quote, but the limit does not exist. It doesn't.
Is it October 3rd? No.
And then on October, yeah. Oh gosh, I live in movie quotes, but yeah, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It really depends on your company, your product, how hands-on you have to be. Is it a managed service? Is this something that like you need to spend a bunch of time with your client setting up? Do you have to do manual renewals on an annual basis, or do you have a subscription model? For us, why I say the limit doesn't exist is that we have worked really hard to try to scale the processes and automate a lot of this that allows for our reps to manage more folks, which in turn has given them an opportunity to make more money in commission, but also bring on more business for the company. And just a lot of good has come out of that. Not to say we won't reach the point where we have to hire. I mean, quarterly we have to hire more people, but we've been able to get away with less people managing more accounts right now because of like automated process, and really like figuring out, are we doing the right activities that are actually impacting our customers to stay with us and spend more time? Or are we, just doing manual work on our side for the sake of making their experience an 11? So these are a lot of considerations. I think you need to think about a little more versus just putting and slapping a number of accounts and revenue onto it.
No, I think that's amazing, because I know personally for me as a previous client experience manager, you have those accounts that like you've maybe been told or informed that are the most important. But at the end of the day, like they might have like a locked in contract that says like they'll never pay you more money ever, so it doesn't really matter, versus like maybe you have a customer over here that has an opportunity to actually wants to buy more integrations, or they're going to be more sticky in terms of like how they use your product. So it's impossible, I think, to even understand like how many clients you can handle. So I think you answered that super well. Like such an interesting way of thinking about it and such a startup mindset.
Yeah. And the last thing that I'll add really quickly there is that I truly believe that you'll always have team members, of course, that might be newer to the industry, newer to the job, but again, you hire the right people, you enable them to do good work, and you allow each of your team members to train each other really up. You have your A players and everybody aspires to be them. And so while we do have accounts that we give to certain reps, we don't ever hold back accounts from anybody, because that would mean that person probably shouldn't be on the team.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. There might be some questions coming into the chat, but I want to ask you another one. So I don't think it would be fair to chat with you about what's happening in the restaurant industry and not talk a little bit about what happened with COVID this year. And I think what I really want to talk about is, I imagine, and this would be my assumption, that your customer, success representatives were probably the lifeline for a lot of people when they were going through what happened with COVID. And maybe you want to tell us a little bit about like how that experience was, how that was internally, and maybe even like, something that one of your customer success champions did that really, I think, affected a customer in a positive way through all of this.
Yeah. So what we had decided to do as a company was that we were going to do proactive outreach to everybody, every single customer that we have. Not that we had or reached them on the phone. We literally called every customer, but it was a group effort. So everybody on sales, marketing, everybody in the success team, regardless of your position, even product folks, picked up the phone and called people to see how our customers were doing, to just make sure we were there for them if they needed any financial relief. So just being able to really, give that experience, and it didn't have to live within client success, which I think is, again, one of the things we do really well as a company, is just making sure that people can, step outside of their roles and help. The restaurant industry was hit hard. It's both fortunate and unfortunate that the states reopened when it did, because we are back to like pre-COVID growth levels. But obviously it's very unstable across, every board right now. And so the approach we took was just to, again, provide financial relief, make sure that people were well looked after, apply coupons to their account, allow them to continue using the tool if it was helpful, and just practice empathy, which was really great. In terms of like something that stood out, we had a client in Toronto, and they are a very successful client. It's a homegrown business, female entrepreneur, and she was struggling. It's not that they weren't selling, but they were selling about 70% less of what they were, and she had just opened a few other locations. And so having one of our reps reach out and just say, what can we do? What's going to be impactful? We want you to continue to use the tool. Why don't we actually apply a discount that works for you for a prolonged period of time, not just a month or two, because this is a partnership, and this isn't just us trying to keep your business long term. We want to make sure you survive, because we only survive if you survive.
I feel like I could ask about 100 questions about that entire experience around you apply this coupon, but you're not making money, but you're still there for them. And it's been such a crazy year to see, I don't have this as a statistic fact, so nobody quote this on me, but there's not a lot of companies out there, I think, that had their customer success team call all of their clients. And that is amazing. And those people, I think, are going to be with you forever. And I just admire everything that Seven Shifts has done. I feel like your energy alone must lead this team into they just must be amazing. I can't wait till we can travel again and I can come there and see you, and it'll be so cool. I wish I could just chat with you forever, but there is one question, and then we'll have to wrap up here. But Dave here, he's a member of the Cultivator cohort. He said, what does the transition from the sales representative to customer success manager look like for Seven Shifts? Does having them in one department help?
So I think it does help. Having them with the growth umbrella does help, because if a process is broken, we're all very motivated to fix it, because it falls on all of us to meet those company goals, and even our team rocks, as I was discussing. rock again what the goals that we're trying to hit and how we get there. So
Yeah.
the handoff is probably pretty similar to a lot of other companies. You know, we have a system and some automation in place where they are assigned a CSM, so the sales rep should know. There are some caveats about whether or not, like how many locations a customer may have, how many restaurants or franchises, do they actually get like a one-to-one onboarding? We have like an automated process as well in terms of like a lot of great content. And I will say the one thing that does, I think, keep us apart is that we do check-ins that are automated. There is actually a check-in that comes to me, but the responses come right to me as well. And so I have the ability to actually have conversations with our customers about whether they need anything else. We do surveys. We make sure that if they do need additional training, regardless of what they spend with us, that is available for them as well. And because we have growth team meetings with sales, marketing, and everybody under success, anything that's broken, we IDS it. So you identify it, you discuss it, and you solve it. And we're all motivated to do that together.
Amazing. I love that. I'm going to give the virtual universe like 1 second to drop a question if they have one. I'm sorry I'm going off book on you, but I feel like I just had to go with the things that came up in the moment, but I'm super happy we had this chat. I can't thank you enough for being a champion of SaaS Startup Summit over the last 2 days. Judging last night was amazing. Your questions were unreal. Our founders had such amazing things to say about you. So thank you for participating. Dave gave us a thumbs up. I think Jordan McFarlane is going to appear, and time caught me. But if he does not, maybe give me, no! Never mind.
Just keep it rolling, Hannah. Keep it rolling. You're
okay,
good.
My last question would be, what is your one piece of parting advice for a founder when they're about to build this team?
I think just don't look at client success just as your post-sales team. Look at it as just such an integrator to every other team. It's so important. I mean, they give the feedback back to product. They work with your sales team. I truly believe that customer success has the ability to be a very revenue-driven team and to really, get you into a growth positive position as well. And so don't assume they're just another team post-sales. Really look at how you can be impactful to your customers. Hire the right people, hire them for your company values, and really expect a lot from them, because, holding them to a high standard just means we're going to also create high standards for, everyone around us as well as our clients as well. So I would say hire good people, and definitely don't just assume the team is just kind of another post-sales team.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Elise. For everybody out there in the Zoomiverse, Elise is on LinkedIn. I did creep it multiple times. I'm sure if you had a question for her, you could reach out. Jordan will probably magically appear again because we are heading to lunch. I will also disappear. Thank you again so much. We will chat with you, I'm sure, soon. We loved having you.
Awesome. Thanks, Hannah.
Bye, guys. Bye.